Oh yeah, I'm just sharing to my other social media channels. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start. Thank you guys for your patience. So this is gonna be a long one because there's so many different ways. There's a lot of us out there that who are on the spiritual path, and especially in the spiritual community, more so than I hear in other communities, say the religious or Christian community. You know how I can go back to living 3D. I just can't. The knowledge I have once you wake up, you can never, ever go back. And we mean this on so many levels. We're in the same world, but we're not in the same world. And I want to explain what does it mean, different aspects, and how that shows up, because this consciousness that we live in means a lot. It means that you have a certain amount of knowledge and you act on that knowledge, and you act differently with that knowledge than people without it. You do things, you talk to things differently because you have it than people without. So honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm on a different planet already because I just don't live in the same world. You really start to see that your vibration and your dimensional self attracts other people in the same dimension, and I'm going to mention that because it's just completely different. So I just wanted to go over this because you're going to case practice and application, because I'm experiential, meaning I don't just like Jesus isn't just some figure. I'm like, Jesus, can you come to me in a dream? Jesus, can you do this? Jesus, can you help me? I mean, I'm very practical with it. I'm like, oh, so you can help me with anything? Okay, this drawer is stuck, and all of a sudden it's not stuck. I mean, like, it's very experiential. It's very applicable. I will say this, where I end, spirit begins. We are one. And when you get to that level of consciousness, we're like, no, they're a part of me, I'm a part of them. We co-create, and they're happy to co-create with me. You're just in a different world. You just don't stress, and I'm going to explain to you how. So this is what I want to go over. Just what does it mean? Yeah, let's start with that. I actually wrote notes because there's so many different ways. Y'all don't know I'm in a different world. But I love my world, and I'm never, ever going back to the 3D where you're hopeless and you don't feel like you have any, well, you're just dependent on people. Like, you just don't have to be. It doesn't have to be struggle anymore. It can just be flow, right? And you don't have to worry. And stress isn't part of your MO. And you get to a point where if someone's rude to you, you're just not going to respond because it's not worth the emotional downheaval in your vibration or frequency over something that doesn't matter. Because for someone else, that might be you cutting them in line, might be the last straw because they have nothing else in their mind to lose. But for you, you're like, I have so much to live for. This isn't a big deal. There's more. I don't have to rush. I'm not in a big hurry. Go for it. You're not in a big hurry because you start realizing that you don't need all these things they said you need. You have everything you need at your fingertips. If you know, everyone does it differently. I'm going to show you the way I did it. And my way is just relying on spirit to help me. So I'm a co-creator with spirit. Right? Spirit, Jesus, God, it's my archangels, it's my ancestors, but I'm working with somebody constantly to get what I want with just a thought. And that is a different level of consciousness because you understand that they're real, they're here, and they can do things we cannot. And yeah, and you get better and better at reading signs. So I'm going to say one thing you do in the fifth dimension that you don't in the third as much is acknowledge your spirit family. And I say spirit family because sometimes it is family. Sometimes it is, as I mentioned, Jesus and God. Daily, I am acknowledging them, even if it's a hello. I like asking or requesting something from them, like a sign or a vision or this or confirmation or information or help me. I'm trying to find my shoe and I can't find it. Can you help me with that? And this was my thinking behind it, which turned out to be very accurate. When you acknowledge and interact with your spirit family, or they help assist you and show you something, what happens is every time you do that, the energetic cord and bond between you becomes stronger and stronger. So you need to be careful about who you create these bonds with, right? I only do it with the highest integrity individuals of any realm that I work with. This is my gym infused set outside in the sun, so it alkalizes for 45 minutes water. So we're gonna talk about diet and the things you ingest and how are the bond. I just have an intuitive and a very instinctive understanding of energy and connections and bonds and ties and soul ties because of my ancestral and my spirit lineage. So there's just things on instinct I understand. Like the more I talk to my archangels, the stronger I'm able to hear them, our connection. And it has turned out to be very true. So just asking them something little means when I ask them something big, like, hey, I feel unsafe, I able to hear them. And when I say hear, it's not necessarily a voice. It's like, oh, all of a sudden I get a strong urge to turn left instead of when I always go right. And I turn left. And I found out when I turned left, I avoided a collision with someone, right? It's little things like that. But I've learned to listen to them because our bond is so strong. So living in the fifth dimension, I don't think you could ever go by without acknowledging your spirit team, whoever that might be, because you're going to be drawn to certain spiritual ascended masters than others. You know, sometimes it's Buddha or Melchizedek or Jesus or so many, Kuan Yin, right? So many people, spiritual beings who have ascended. It can be Muhammad, right? It can be so many. And you don't go a day, they hear you. You probably work with them often. You ask them for help often and they give it to you. And it's so funny because I'm around people and they're like, I can't figure this out. And I'm just like, just ask your spirit team. Just ask your guardian angels to help you. What are you doing? Why are you struggling? And I realize, oh, okay, I'm so invested and I understand how much spirit is available and I've developed those connections my go-to is to ask spirit for something. Okay, I need a new job idea. Can you guys help me out? Myself in terms of spirit. So when I say that, I mean, I think of myself as a higher self who has a whole past, who is a speaker, who is really great at manifesting. That's in their lineage. I am a warrior, right? So every single body, my body, I incarnated it. I am a warrior. I am a teacher. I am Lisa. Lisa is the personality and the consciousness. But my spirit that I've taken the time to understand is what I identify myself as, right? And I have on my Soul Powered Life, my website, I have a book on like knowing yourself and the different avenues you can take through numerology, astrology, and whatnot to get to know it. But I think of myself in terms of a higher self who has a whole past, who has like, oh, and I'm going to actually do a video on this. I have a whole soul plan, my star family, through with the process with my angels who helped facilitate here on Earth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all are in conflict, but it also made me realize they sent their strongest warriors down here to do it. So I don't even think of myself as Lisa. I think of myself as a spiritual being who has a spiritual past, in which I've seen in my past life sessions I've done with angels, who has different spiritual aspects of herself, who has lived on this earth, who has had many earth lives, who has a soul family, who's able to communicate, who has the energy and the power and the ability to create, because she is a spark of God. My spirit is, right? And so that's a complete different mentality when you think of yourself as a spiritual being. I walk in that light. And so that's why I say with my whole chest, oh, I'm a magician. Oh, I'm a teacher. Oh, I'm a speaker. Because that's my spirit. It don't matter what body I was in. Lisa is this personality. Lisa is a Pisces with a Leo rising, which is ruled by the sun. So her personality is like the sun, right? But she has a Taurus moon, which is like her inside personality is very practical, which you might have noticed all of those things if you've been listening to me. That's my personality, right? And astrology is a very key to the personality ego part. But my spirit is who I am. So when I say I'm a warrior, I say it with my whole chest and I don't back away, because I am a warrior at the spiritual level. So into the physical, and that is what I do. And when you start doing this, you realize that you're like, the world's your oyster. How do I get over this? All of a sudden, hey, why don't you do this, this, and this? And I'm guided to do it, and I do it, and I get the results I want. Like, struggle no more. You come into conflict, but you don't stay in conflict, because you just easily reach out. And that's why I'm always looking at people who are like struggling. I was like, what are you struggling for? Like, it's so foreign to me because of my reliance on the higher self. And FYI, if it's on a spiritual team, you can rely on your higher self, right? You can rely on higher self. Can you please help me with this? And so I think of my terms as so when I say it with my whole chest, all the general mentality, I've learned relying on spirit and my own ability to create and manifest the life I want. I've gained independence from the government. I don't need them for my decisions. I don't need them for, I don't need the school system. I can homeschool. I made that an option available if I need to do it. The medical system. I'm a healer. I can self-heal with the assistance of my archangels and dragon guides. Jesus will step forward for my healings. I can heal myself. I've made it so relying on my spiritual self and my spiritual gift ball. Although it's not everyone, there are good people, of course, because people in general are good. But you can be good within a corrupt system all day. It doesn't mean that the system is better because you're there. You're just one light and a lot of darkness, right? And so because of that, when things are happening, I just don't care, right? There's so many bigger things. So on Facebook, you can see, oh, today it's Kobe Bryant. Okay, tomorrow, okay. There's so much bigger things on your plate, like with the ascension process and how we're going to get out of here. Like, it's just, you don't do it. And also collective pain. You're actually detached from that because at some point you have accepted good and bad. At some point in your spiritual path, if you've been paying attention, this earth dimension, not other earth dimensions, they're all different. Right? And your studies will show you that when it's about good and bad, and you start understanding, you know, when I see bad things happen, and I'd ask my aunt dying of COVID than others, why do I see these cops doing this, killing black people? You know, I've been seeing this for years. why this, or wanted to experience that, to know the pain so they can grow. Sometimes it was they had agreed to exit out that way. When they came down to earth, they knew that would be their exit plan. Sometimes it was like it was to spur or spark change in the people, so that another thing about detachment is that you also learn that, and this was a hard one because I was pretty dogmatic and pretty pushy, but this 360 change after this one, everyone has the right to their own journey. Enlightenment. We're going to find out during the ascension process, but that's their journey as well, right? And so you just really get detached from the negative and the positive, and you understand the negative has to happen because for streams, and that's part of it, because money keeps you dependent on the system. That's how they control you. This 9-to-5 thing that keeps you just busy enough, but just busy enough where you don't have too much energy to go out into the streets. That's why with COVID, you saw all these protests, because all of a sudden we weren't on that hamster wheel, right? And they didn't expect that. But we had time to look at what we thought was, this is the right thing to do. And so when, we aren't dependent on the system, so there's no system where someone tells me what to do that I'm like, oh no, we're not doing that. We're not. This is the alternative. I'll take it. Work, but it's a different kind of work than building your own business. But, I decided, and many of us have in the spiritual community, to perform our own business. So we are free to do what we want or create our own schedule. Remember, so I'm going to keep using this create. So that's what we mean. And so that's also the reason why you're detached, because I'm like, oh, the school system does this to little kids who are melanated. Okay, well, good thing I'm not putting my kids in that school system. I don't have to, right? Because I think a lot of cross people are watching this, but as a black person, you have to be aware of the racism within the system. Because, I'm not going to be the person continually shocked when it's shown that it's systematic. It's systematic, right? Like, it's in education, it's in mortgage, it's in financing. And so knowing that, you're like, well, let me do what I need to do, not be dependent on a system that would want to treat me disrespectfully. Because I'm a teacher, like, no, we're not doing that. And so we work very hard to be independent. You might notice that about us. We're just, my spirit doesn't need you to survive or for abundance. My spirit knows how to tap into source and knows how to tap into spirit. I can, and like I said, if I don't want to ask my spirit team, I can ask my higher self, soul Lisa, spirit Lisa, whatever you want to say. How can I get this done? All right. We also attract high vibe people. So during COVID, this has been a crazy year. I haven't seen it. Got food at home, can go to the restaurants. When I do go out, I attract high vibrational people. The other day I was at the beach, and my daughter started playing with this other girl's daughter, and the mom was like, I do get the ones who can talk about fifth dimensional shift and great awakenings. Or I actually find people on the religious side who are very high frequency, but they're open-minded religious people. So, that was the last person I met. So, super spiritually. They're like, well, Jesus and God, and then no one can take you talking the same exact language. So, I attract other, religious people who are very open-minded to the fact that I use crystals and candles, and I channel angels. And some people who are religious and closed-minded will be like, oh, that's devils. I'm like, no, you have discernment. You should be able to tell the difference between a low vibration and a high vibrational angelic being, right? So, that's what happens. That whole vibe attract the tribe. The higher you go, especially when you're getting to that higher dimensional consciousness and talking about spirits and whatnot, that's when you're just on another level, and you're going to talk to people who also, oh, I'm an angelic channeler too. Those are the kind of people I meet. Nothing less than that. Otherwise people are around. I'm going to smile at people all the time, because I'm that kind of person who, if I see you and if I'm skating on the boardwalk, I'm going to smile at you. It just is. I'm not talk to and engage with, even randomly, tend to be people who are very aware and open. Just the other day on the beach, I meet a lot of people on the beach. So, a woman's like, oh, I used to talk to angels as well, but then I lost touch. And I'm like, girl, get back to it. What are you doing? You had the touch. You got to develop it, right? But I attract people like that. So when I say I'm living in the fifth dimension, my vibration is so high, it literally is so discerning. Just you, not you, you and you, y'all are going to come together. right? And I'm so open because I know who my spirit is. I know who I'm here. I know what I can do and I'm for. I'll talk about my stuff right off the bat. Like, yeah, I'm a healer. It's in my lineage. Yep, I talk to angels. Like, I have no problem saying that stuff because it's down here for. That's my spirit. That's my spirit self. And that's how it's supposed to be. That I actually find that when I attract this vibe and I'm just so open about it, it's cool because they are more comfortable. Like, it really becomes distinct that you're attracting your vibe. And I literally can, I'm talking about awakening, the shift, or rapture, or whatever, like, all the time, because those are the kind of people that I attract at this level. Happy to know we're out here. We are out here. We're out here. The other thing about living is, the manifestation. So, like, some of us are going to manifest easy because that's our lineage. Like, it's mine. That's my answers. They're like, we want you to understand sacred and ancient knowledge. So they have walked me through a lot of sacred and ancient knowledge from Kundalini, Mayan serpent theories, Phoenix risings. And that's actually how I know when my vibration goes low. Because what happens is if you work with spirit and you ask, like, Jesus, can you help me with this? And he does it. He's working through you. So maybe you got a cue to, you know what, why don't I go and open this email or go to this website, and then they do the rest, right? It's a co-creative. But you have to be able to hear and, like, be urged or guided to be at a corner at this time to meet this person because you said you wanted to meet a mechanic, right? And here I find that when my vibration goes low, like, for instance, back in March, I was watching all COVID all the time for, like, a good week. My vibration got so low. And I know it's because I get this pain in my back when my vibration gets low and I don't manifest. So I was like, oh, gosh, spirit guide, show me a guy, because I lose stuff. And I'm like, hey, where did I leave X and X? And usually it takes like a second for me to get like an image in my head, or my vibration is low. I'm like just asking and asking. And when I don't get it, because I'm used to like that instantaneous or like very quick feedback within an hour, I actually will do a cleansing session. I'm like, okay, we need to cleanse and raise your vibration, okay? Because something's going on. And so you manifest easily. Like, you have a thought, you get the day. I found 6 in my house. I didn't even know. These are like from years ago, right? So I was like, another. It was the most random of thoughts, right? But when you manifest easily, we mean you manifest easily. Like, when I put it into having the high frequency is worth it just on the manifestation alone. Spiritual being. I am a spark of God. I do create my world. I have the ability to create my world. So when I manifest, I'm a heavy manifester. Like, that's what we're doing. I want this kind of life. I want to live near the beach. Check. I want a beautiful sunroom. Check. I want X. Check. Like, check. Like, what do you want? I just know. Like, what do you want? I just know, FYI, this will really help. I gave up drinking a few years ago, as well as some other things. Alcohol, because it lowered my vibration. And it's just, I'd rather be able to channel clearly and manifest easy than drink, and which isn't good for your body anyways, right? So that was my choice, because I like the spiritual benefits better than what the physical benefits of drinking were. Even though I did get a good buzz. I was like really fun at parties, so. Alright, I also have blue lotus extract in there because it helps with my clairvoyance, which is opening up. I'm getting more and more visions when I do my healing sessions. So the other thing, and I'm sorry, this is long, but like, I really want to explain what 5D looks like, and it's on so many levels, like, it's out of this world, okay? Another thing, you're able to read signs from spirit easily. You know that a butterfly means one of your ancestors is listening. And funny story, I was walking, I was skating, and I was like, someone told me that if you see a butterfly, that's like your ancestors, but I don't know if I resonate with that. And like a minute later, I had like 4 butterflies flying around my head, and this is what happens when you're at this higher dimension. You're like, I got it, it's true, thank you very much, right? Like, other people would be like, what a coincidence. No. What happens when you get higher in dimension and you work in it, you understand when you have a thought, not only do you get instant manifestation, but you also understand that they give you an instant, like, they'll give you signs very clearly. You know, I know what a feather means, or this means, or Archangel Gabriel says if I ever see a mourning dove, that's him. And so when I come out and see a mourning dove, I'm like, oh, hi, Archangel Gabriel. Thank you so much. I see you since. And so you're past coincidence. There's no coincidences when your frequency is high. It just isn't. there's just something you want from spirit, or the urge to go left instead of right. It can be like a thought in your head to do something you wouldn't do, or you did do, or do it differently, but you just follow the thought. You don't second guess your intuition. If you have an urge to do this, even if it's different, you do it. If I have an urge to go to sleep like I did the last 2 days, because like I said in the energy reading, it is crazy energy right now. One time it's hot, then it's all these videos I wanted to make yesterday, but I was too tired, right? And it seems little, but you really understand how to take message from source. You understand how to take guidance from source through the signs and the signals, and you get better and better at it to where it is its own instantaneous language. It's not even, you don't even have to take a long time to get the feedback. Like I said with the butterfly thing, they really showed me in my face what it meant. Like, no, that's what it meant. That was correct. And I was just thinking that in my head. And so you really start to learning from the dreams and the messages, or if you ask a question or you're pondering something and you're talking to someone else and they give you an answer to that question, you're like, oh, okay, I see you, spirit. Thank you. You know, and it's like, oh, they worked through that person to tell me what I needed to do. You get so used to that level of seeing signs and understanding. It's a part of the language. And sometimes it's not a long turnaround. Maybe it's a YouTube video that pops up randomly on your feed that answers the question. And it's not like, oh, like YouTube or the phone was listening to me speak or something. It's like straight up, your spirit team put that in the face. You said you needed this. No, none of that happened. You just, I know at this stage, at 5D level, spirit did that. And it's fast and quick, and you just learn how to read those, and you're no longer doubting and thinking it's coincidence. You're past that. You also living in the 5D, and this was sort of cool once you open your eyes to it. You start realizing that plants and rocks and the earth and the ocean have a sentient consciousness, right? So I can go to a plant and hold my hands out, and I can make an intention to connect with the energy of that plant, and I could start communicating. I'll give you some examples. This one sort of hurt, but so I have some banana trees out back, and I needed some dry. You know, when you're composting, you need wet and dry, and I needed some dry. They had some old, and they had some leaves that were sort of like hanging off, and they were dead, and I was pulling them. And I was like, hey, and I talk to my plants because I know they have sentience and they can hear. And they have life, they're just different and they're at a higher dimension. But I understand on spirit to tell me, like, give me signs and symbols on what to do because this is my first garden, right? And so I might get guided to do this or to that, or something might happen that goes, oh, I should do this, right? And I know how to read those signs. So we get through it even if it's my first time doing it because spirit is giving me different nudges and examples. When I ask, and sometimes it's higher self as well. But I was pulling the leaves, and I got a cut, and I just got the impression. So it wasn't words; it was energetic impression. And I was a little upset that like they didn't just give me that impression before they cut me, because it was like a cut that like it was real sharp, so it lasted a long time. But I clearly got the impression that it was like, hey, you can take it off the trunk of this banana tree. Think that they go to nih.gov and look at it. All right. Trees have industry, and I connect to those energies, and that's how I found out. So someone once told me you could connect to trees, so I went out to a tree in my park, and I just put my hands out, and I was like, my intention is just to connect, and I just sort of sent my energy out into it, and it sent it back. Like, to this day, I'm still connected to that tree in Charlottesville at my park. I will see images of her. I call her Mama, because that's the energy she gave me. And I remember when I was connecting, how I didn't realize there was a transfer of knowledge. And so I was talking to my daughter, and I was like, you want to, all of a sudden, this came out the blue. You want to know how important trees are? Trees give us shelter. We can make wood. We can make fuels. It makes fire. It keeps us warm. It cleans the air. Trees are such an integral part of our life. And da-da-da-da-da. And I was going, and I had a few acting with, like, the tree. So when you're in the fifth dimensional consciousness, you connect to the ocean, which is funny because when I connect to the oceans, I start waving like this, like an ocean. So you can connect energetically to these things in meditation or just calling it in, and you understand at a high level, we're all one, and they have a consciousness. You do not think that in the 3D. In the 5D, you know it, and not only do you know it, I will go into the ocean with my daughter, and I will go, Mother Ocean, will you please would come around? I would get like, this is how it is for me. I call it a whisper, but it's like a ch-ch. and to look here, and I'll just get like and I'll look. I'm like, jellyfish, okay. And I remember asking her one time, this is such a silly human thing to do, but she taught me. I was like, okay, so, and I saw, I was like, oh, so sure too. And I feel bad because like I'm interacting with these higher consciousness, but like, do I kill it? Which is a very a very human. You think that that's not a part of us, and da 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 da. And I got the message, and I'm I'll release that like any at the level that I am. You interact with everything that you know is sentient and has a consciousness, and you talk to it like, hey, just keep me protected. Sometimes I'm like, hey, can you gently show Layla, Mother Ocean, because we're in the waves, ways that she can, in a gentle way, da-da-da-da-da, or can you send some gentle, like, I'll ask her questions, and generally they always say, I don't know, unless it's like something whereas that was done before, and I know that sounds crazy, but if you understand they're sentient, they understand. I think they're just happy that people are talking to them and interacting and working with them, to be honest, and it's Mother Ocean. She's beautiful, right? So when you live in a 5D, you understand that, like, oh, even crystals have consciousness. I interact with them and meditate with them, and I say thank you to them. They thank me back. So they have consciousness. And when you're 5D, you know that. You interact with things as if it does. So I interact with plants and animals like, hey, so in my garden, which did fine for the first year, like all of them individually, I was like, hey, my intention is to grow. Help me. Let me know if there's anything I can do. Try to talk to my spirit guides or whatever. But just let me know. They heard me. And I had to ask. And you're open to reading the signs and signals you get, even if it's like a which makes you look or this or that. You understand that, right? And like you understand how to read it and work with it because you've been developing that skill. So you're always, another thing in the 5D, you're always developing your spiritual gifts. So it's just interesting, like living a 5D. Jack, tell me where you went. Oh, we saw spaceships, cool. Like where else did you go? The conversations and what we talk about is, oh, clairvoyance, I'm working, and this is a meditation I do to develop mine. What about you? Oh, I'm claircognizant, so I just have an inner knowing. You're always working at developing your gifts that you have. Oh, I'm a channeler. I channel angels. I channel dragons. I channel ancestors. I channel everything. Is different is that, like most people, when you're saying like, oh, I'm developing telekinesis. I work with an energy of Merlin to do that. Most people aren't even like thinking about their spiritual gifts. But I am a spiritual being. I'm trying to express all of my spiritual self, right? So it's 5D conscious. All of my spiritual self I'm trying to express through this physical body. And another thing, you are a creator. You don't care what anyone else does or say or do. You're really above it. Like, it closed some places now, but to my place, I don't know of like, even if they try to do any of that, I will ask Spirit what's the best course of action and get it if I can't see it clearly myself. So I'm just above it. It's happening. It's there, but I know how to rely on Spirit to avoid it and be graceful throughout the whole thing. Let me see. Oh, safety. I'm just not scared. They're protecting me. If you look at my other videos I have, especially in the beginning, like part of it's like when I was in dicey situations or this happened or circumstances or events that like were orchestrated for my safety, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I just, I was telling, all right, when I go to the ancestors, my angels, I can see them around me. Anytime anyone gets close, that's a little weird, I'll ask them to come closer, and I find that person starts walking in the other direction randomly. Like, I didn't do it, my angel guides did it, but still I invoke them. So because I'm mindful and I'm always invoking, hey, protection out, which in turn makes everyone happier and friendlier. So like, I love doing it. So I'm just not scared. And I was telling her, like, as a woman, to be able to rely on that faith so hard that you just don't get scared, it's like an amazing thing. It's because most women don't have that luxury if they have not developed that skill themselves. And as a woman, I'm just not scared like I used to. I'm not scared in my house. I'm not scared going outside thing, right? So I'm just, I talk to people because I know they're not going to let me talk to anybody who's weird. They'll give me a sign to like keep walking or don't move or don't do this. You are, yeah. And so what this does, understand the consciousness. You understand that you're a spiritual being. You bring that into your life. You create, you manifest like a creator, like you should be doing. You're not letting your vibration get low. You're not getting caught up in what everyone else is sad about. You're not getting scared when they try to say this is mandatory. I don't care what you say is mandatory. God got me. He's not going to let you do this. He won't. I'll just ask him for help, and I might be guided to do this, and he might hear what you're going to try to tell me to do. So, within the laws, you do have to live. But at the end of the day, you know that whatever happens, that you can co-create and have alternatives that doesn't rely on them controlling or manipulating you. So that is what it's like living a fifth dimensional mindset. It is out there. If you lasted this long, just put blessed. I'm blessed down in the low level. It's an elevated understanding of the world and thinking for exists. Low vibrational beings exist. He's sort of funny. I channeled him one time just to see if I could. I was like, oh, this is for real? Okay. But you understand that all these different beings exist, and you can talk to them, and they are happy to communicate. Because, you know what I mean? Because, they just want to help us express who we are as a spirit. And that sounds out there if you're in 3D and you're not elevated and just gelling, talking about, he called it testimony. I called it my learning lessons. It didn't even scare him about that stuff. So, yeah, that is what it's like. It's different. It's an understanding. You walk with it. You talk with it. You embody it. I'm constantly connecting with them. And that's a fifth dimensional elevated consciousness. Understanding that all exists. And that's what I do. So I hope this was interesting and illuminating. And, I would like you guys to subscribe below. But also tell me your thoughts. Are you 3D, 4D, or 5D? And so thank you guys so much for listening. And I have more. So please stay tuned as we talk about the ascension.